Friends, the starting point is the announcement that Donald Trump has backed down from his threat to attack Iran's energy infrastructure. Remember, he had given Iran a 48-hour ultimatum to open the Strait of Hormuz, a vital passage for 20% of the world's oil. Trump stated that the decision to postpone the attacks came after excellent negotiations with the Persians. However, the Iranian government categorically denied any ongoing talks. This immediate contradiction raises the central question that many analysts in Washington and the Pentagon are discussing today. Are we facing another episode of what the American press often calls Trump always chickens out? That is, Trump always backs down at the last minute? From a geopolitical standpoint, the Strait of Hormuz is the most strategic bottleneck on the planet. Any prolonged disruption would cause the price of a barrel of oil to skyrocket above 150, directly affecting the economies of the United States, Europe, and Asia. Trump, as president, knows this. The retreat can be interpreted as pragmatism or as a sign of weakness, depending on the perspective. For his supporters, it is proof that he prioritizes negotiations before military escalation. For critics, it is yet another example of a bluff that doesn't hold up when Iran responds firmly. In recent hours, diplomatic sources in Washington confirmed that the order to postpone attacks has been given, but the Pentagon maintains forces on high alert in the Gulf. Iran, for its part, continues to say that there is no negotiation whatsoever, and that the strait remains closed to aggressors. This creates a stalemate that could last for days or weeks. What is at stake here is not just oil. It is the credibility of American deterrence in the Middle East. If Trump backs down now, allies like Israel and Saudi Arabia may question the U.S. commitment. At the same time, rival powers like China and Russia are watching closely, gauging whether the United States still has the political will to confront Iran. My friends, this is the kind of breaking news that defines the balance of power. It's not just rhetoric, it's about economics, energy, and global security. We'll be following every step. What do you think? Leave a comment if you believe this is a smart strategy or a forced retreat. We'll continue with the next topic. Now, let's look at the exact text of Donald Trump's statement, published on his social media platform, Truth Social. He wrote, "We are pleased to report that the United States and Iran have had, over the past 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the content of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of Defense to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a period of 5 days, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings." This message is the official document at the moment. Note that Trump uses the expression complete and total resolution of our hostilities, which suggests that he is talking about a possible end to tensions, not just a tactical pause. He mentions very good and productive conversations and in-depth discussions. However, the concrete order is limited. A suspension of attacks on energy infrastructure for only 5 days. Geopolitically, this is significant. The U.S. Department of Defense controls the largest arsenal on the planet, and a presidential order to postpone attacks is an act of public de-escalation. But the short 5-day deadline indicates that Trump is maintaining pressure. Either Iran moves forward in the supposed negotiations, or the attacks may resume. Experts in Washington, including former advisors to the National Security Council, see this as a classic American negotiating tactic, combining diplomacy with latent threat. Important: Trump speaks on behalf of the United States, not Israel. This separates American actions from Israeli actions. The text does not mention a ceasefire with Israel, nor any guarantees for Tel Aviv. Therefore, while Washington pauses, the Israel-Iran conflict continues in parallel. In the last 24 hours, reports of explosions in Tel Aviv and Rafah confirm that the Israeli front remains active. Friends, this statement is last minute and could change at any moment. It reveals that Trump is trying to present an image of a statesman who prefers dialogue, but keeps the military option on the table. The financial market has already reacted. The price of oil fell almost 4% in the following hours. For us who follow geopolitics, the text shows that the White House is trying to buy time without losing face. Let's see if the productive talks really exist, or if they are part of a narrative. Leave your opinion in the comments. We analyze the inconsistencies present in Trump's own statement. He states that the talks aim for a complete and total resolution of hostilities. That is, the end of the war in the Middle East. However, immediately afterwards, he only speaks of a temporary suspension for 5 days of attacks on Iranian power plants and infrastructure. This difference between end of the war and 5-day pause is what draws the attention of analysts worldwide. From a strictly geopolitical standpoint, a complete resolution would require agreement on the Iranian nuclear program, the presence of militias in Iraq and Syria, and Israel's security. 5 days of postponement do not cover these issues. It's a tactical, not a strategic measure. Trump says we can't blindly trust his words, and that applies to everyone. He knows Iran might interpret the announcement as a sign of American weakness. Independent sources in Washington confirm that the Pentagon received the order, but commanders are keeping contingency plans updated. The inconsistency may be intentional. Trump projects optimism to the American public while maintaining military pressure. But the risk is real. If Iran does not respond positively within 5 days, the retreat could turn into an even greater escalation. Friends, this is the kind of nuance that separates good analysis from superficial news. The statement mixes grand diplomacy with limited measures. This reflects the current reality. The U.S. wants to avoid direct confrontation without appearing defeated. The market understood the retreat as positive, but risk analysts in New York are already warning that volatility will continue. We will see if this inconsistency is resolved, or if it will only serve to buy time. What do you observe? Comment below. The role of Israel and the perceived risk of abandonment. Trump speaks only for the United States. While Washington postpones attacks on Iranian infrastructure, Israel continues to operate alone. In recent hours, Israeli bombings against targets in Iran and Iranian retaliations in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Rafah have been reported. Explosions have been registered on both sides. Geopolitically, this is delicate. Israel is the closest U.S. ally in the region. Any perception that Trump is abandoning Tel Aviv could weaken the alliance. Israeli sources are already questioning whether the 5 days are meant to give Iran time to reorganize its defenses. Other analysts say Trump is giving Israel space to continue its campaign without directly involving American forces. The Strait of Hormuz remains the focal point. If Iran maintains the partial blockade, the flow of oil to Europe and Asia is threatened, even affecting American consumers at gas stations. Trump knows he cannot control Israel's actions. Therefore, the American retreat does not signify regional peace, only a unilateral pause by the U.S. Friends, this separation between American and Israeli politics is breaking news that could define the coming days. If Israel intensifies attacks, Iran could respond asymmetrically, targeting American bases in the Gulf. The balance is fragile. Are we witnessing a lack of coordination or a calculated strategy? Leave your analysis in the comments. Next topic to follow. Trump's statements about alleged regime change in Iran. In a phone conversation with CNBC journalist Joy Keener, Trump said the discussions were intense and that he believes Iran is undergoing regime change. He mentioned that Iranian interlocutors were young, new people, which, according to him, indicates a weakening of the Ayatollahs. This narrative is controversial. Independent analysts in Washington note that there is no public evidence that the theocratic regime is collapsing. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps continues to control the military and security apparatus. Trump seems to be using the idea of new people as justification for claiming diplomatic progress without admitting any retreat. Geopolitically, talking about regime change is explosive. The U.S. has tried this several times in the past: Iraq, Libya, Syria, with mixed results. If Trump insists on this line, it could harden the Iranian stance. Iran denies any such talks and claims that the legitimate government is the one speaking. Friends, this is breaking news. An American president projecting domestic victory in Iran while postponing attacks. It could be a psychological tactic or self-deception. We will monitor whether young Iranians have actually taken on any role or if it's just rhetoric. Let us know in the comments if you believe this narrative. We continue. International mediation, impact on oil prices, and economic pressures. Countries like Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan have exchanged messages between Washington and Tehran in the last 2 days, according to Axios. These are not direct negotiations, but channels of contact. Reuters showed an immediate drop in the price of a barrel of oil after Trump's announcement, a direct reflection of the postponement. From a geopolitical and economic standpoint, the oil lobby and large American companies carry significant weight. Trump, as a former businessman, understands that prolonged oil price increases affect inflation and the electorate. The economic structure influences political decisions. The Reuters chart confirms this. Announcement of de-escalation, no relief in the market. But Iran denied everything, and the price could rise again. Friends, this shows how geopolitics and economics go hand in hand. 5 days of pause lowered oil prices, but Iranian denial could reverse the situation. Are we seeing economic pragmatism, or a sign that the U.S. is losing military momentum? Comment. Last topic to follow, Iran's firm response and the central question. Is Trump really backing down? Iranian media and the Revolutionary Guard have stated that the Strait of Hormuz remains closed to aggressors, U.S. allies, and Gulf countries that cede bases. There is no negotiation, according to Tehran. Trump seeks an honorable exit without admitting defeat. He has already declared victory several times without concrete results. Geopolitically, Iran is resisting and counterattacking. The American retreat can be seen as a tactical victory for Tehran, or as a maneuver by Trump to buy time. The question remains, is Trump backing down? The conflict continues, Israel operates alone, and the risk of escalation persists. Friends, follow the channel for breaking news updates. Subscribe, leave your honest opinion in the comments. Is Trump backing down, or is it a strategy? Thanks for watching. A big hug, and until the next analysis, stay tuned. The Middle East is changing fast.